That's the tone you're setting. And what you're also saying to your kids and your wife, God ain't enough. God's not enough. He doesn't have any control here. Is that the message you want to send to those you love? You need to become a man who is steadfast, determined, whose faith is strong. I believe that we Christians have this rally mentality. So when things happen, we got to rally to rise to the occasion, be the mighty man. Well, guess what, guys? It doesn't happen like that. You become a mighty man by your daily walk. By learning how to really trust Him in the mundane of life, and then when the crises come. Mighty men have strength of character. I mean, I don't really love the story of David and Goliath. Do you think that happened overnight? That he had that kind of courage and perspective? It happened because of countless days, even as a young person, praying and trusting and depending on God for his job of shepherding these sheep. So, step 4. If you're stuck at step 4, what's the solution, man? Who would say what the solution is? Anybody listening? You don't count me.
Ask God, which was we trust Him for.
Yeah. What do you want me to trust you for, Lord? And then listen. And then you choose to obey. Well, here's what happened. Getting back to that story of the finances with me, I can tell you miracle after miracle after miracle. When I would say, okay, Lord, what does He want me to trust you for next month? And He would say, I got this. And as soon as I have a journal, and I keep a journal, and I'll write down my concerns, and oftentimes I'll use those concerns, and I'll say, what do you want me to trust you for these concerns? Then I don't close my journal until I write down, I will trust you. But a couple times now, within an hour or two of my writing that down in my journal, I find out that someone has given $107,000 to our ministry. Then I have lunch with a guy, and he hands me a check for $100,000. You know, and it gets very personal between you and God. Okay, when you have said, "I will trust you," and He does something like that. In a way, it's almost like He's saying, "How ridiculous do we need to make this for you?" I mean, come on. You've never seen a check for $100,000 until today. I just want you to trust me. Trust, trust, trust. Okay, so when you go to, I guess I'm not going to get this. I'm already way behind. So, step 5 is get more serious. Okay, so remember, step 1, pray but don't trust. Step 2, burden bearing. Step 3, weariness, your body's starting to give. Step 4 is discouragement. Your emotions are starting to get a little ragged. Okay. Step 5 is disillusionment. Disillusionment. So now you're losing belief. And I'll tell you guys, especially for guys who are in leadership, and all of us who have families are in leadership, when you start going to disillusionment, you're losing belief. I don't know if I believe in my marriage anymore. if I believe that God really is good, that He really loves me, that He's in control. Okay? Might start out as kind of a little thought, but then it starts to goes deeper into your soul. And for leaders, this is really hard because we don't feel like we can tell anybody that. When you're a leader, you can't tell people you're leading that you're losing belief. Okay? And guys, have you seen men? Have you seen men who you thought really knew the Lord do some things that you thought, how in the world did they end up doing that? And if you haven't, you will. And maybe you're one that has. You're one of the guys that has done that stuff. You've lost your belief. So our brilliant solution for losing belief is we disengage. You can be here tonight, guys, and you could have lost belief in something really key in your life, and you wouldn't dare share it with each other. Okay? So that's a brilliant tactic of the enemy. Isolates you from people who can help you. Okay? You disengage emotionally and spiritually from each other. You may show up, maybe people laugh at some jokes, kind of hang out, with the walls up. And guys, when you're at step 6 of this thing, you're prime pickings for the enemy. The enemy is just licking his lips. He's just going, okay, I'm just waiting for my time. When I'm going to convince him to do something he never would have dreamed he would have done. And then he does it. And it wreaks havoc on his relationships. It wreaks havoc in his life. So, I'm no longer surprised when that happens. Because I've been at step 6, looking into the chasm of step 7. And if I hadn't developed, if I had had a 15-year friendship with a good buddy of mine, when he called me and knew how to handle me on the phone, he risked it. And I did a 180 just because of that phone call. So do you have men in your life? It's one thing to be here, but you actually have men. Have you worked at developing those relationships with men so that when they call you, you'll do a 180? If you don't, you're hanging in the wind. We all need it. Okay? So step 7 is disaster. So if you guys want to become men, you can start out great. Okay, my role as a 70-year-old now is to look at you and say, okay, bunch of sharp guys, good men. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing where they're going to be at 70. I'm wondering where you're going to be in 10 years. Are you going to be stronger? You will have had 10 years of abiding, getting closer to Jesus? Or is this all kind of an academic exercise for you? Are you getting to the point where you can trust Him no matter what? That won't happen overnight. Any more than I had a son that played basketball in college. But we do kid him that he was much more interested in playing than preparing. But if you're going to be a top-level athlete, you got to spend a lot of time preparing. So you got to prepare. Okay. So questions about this? How are we doing on time?
Doing fine.
Doing fine? Oh man, that's not good news for you. So what's the kind of thing that can pop up with you that it can be a very simple thing. See, if you're sitting in here and saying, well, yeah, just because I get a little frustrated with my wife, I don't need to take out the gun. Then you're missing the point. Because he wants relationship with you. He wants you to take these simple things as well as the big things to him. Just talk about it. Hey, hey, I'm ticked off at so-and-so again, what do you want to trust you for? And you start to grow in this super awareness of, man, God is right there with you. And this whole notion of abiding in Jesus becomes real. It isn't just some Bible term. It becomes the way you live and breathe, where he becomes so real to you. And is that the faith that you guys want to pass on to your kids? Come on. Or you want to pass on what most guys pass on? That you kind of trust God. I believe that's the faith that most men are passing on to their children. You kind of trust God, but you really got to handle things yourself. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I don't want that kind of faith. I don't want that kind of religion. I'd rather, if that's what it's going to be, I'd rather just go out and forget it all. I want to have this relationship with Jesus that is life-changing. And that deals with everything in my life. Okay, Q&A. Anybody have a question, concern, want to push back? I love pushback, by the way, so it's fun.
Come on.
Huh?
Not everybody wants.
Not everybody at once, yeah. These mighty men are really showing their stuff.
Yeah, I do want to make a comment. Dave was talking about trust and all that. I mean, everything he does is fully funded. And Dave, I don't remember what it was, we were having breakfast a couple months ago maybe. I don't even remember what it was, but I talked to him and told him about my word for the year is trust. And I feel like God really has given me that word. And I kiddingly said, sorry about COVID, because I think God is trying to help us all trust. And it's my fault because I take that as my word for the year. But we were sitting there talking about it. And we were at the Neighborhood Jam, great place if you've ever been. It's amazing breakfast. But we were sitting there eating, and we're talking about it. And next thing we know, somebody walks up and says, "Gentlemen, somebody has paid for your breakfast this morning." And we both just teared up immediately because it was like, what the heck? We didn't even know who was in there. And it's like, and it just said, here it is. Our breakfast was paid for. And it just, and we were literally sitting there talking about trust. How we got to trust God in our finances, trust God in everything that we do, and He shows up right there in the middle of our conversation. That was just amazing. That's what I thought of when we were talking about all that.
Maybe we really look needy. I don't know. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, all right.
Pretty early on, you mentioned something that I made a note of: sin management. Could you talk about that just a little bit more and maybe draw me a little better picture of
What a great
means?
entree. Thank you. Tool number 1 on your sheet. Okay. This has been a life-changing thing for me. Okay. I grew up as a son of a pastor. Great. I'm a 5th generation Christian. And basically, I've been taught that it's all about pleasing God. Okay. So stink at it. It seems like there's more times I don't do, I don't even live up my own standards, let alone God's standards. Okay? And the enemy uses that so much in a person's life. The guilt. So when you've had a lust problem the day before, how easy it is for you to spend time with the Lord that morning. Are you just really looking forward to your time with the Lord when you've had a lust problem the night before? Probably not. Probably not. You're kind of backpedaling in your time with the Lord and saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I blew it, you know what I mean? That's sin management. Okay? And it's epidemic among Christian men. Okay? I think, let me explain kind of this whole thing is, so you've been going down you're down through life, you've been going on this road, and you don't realize it, but at some point, you hit a fork in the road. And that fork has to do with your default motivation. What I mean by that is, you're saying, man, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to make sure I do this. Right? Okay, I've kind of done a little bit of default motivation in my marriage. If I do anything, I want to make sure I praise my wife. Not criticize. I want to praise her. That's my default motivation in my marriage. And your default motivation in your relationship with God, for the most part, tends to be, I want to do what pleases Him. You know, and we're encouraged in Scripture, you know, please God, right? I mean, it's all throughout Scripture, so it's not a false concept. But then you got Hebrews 11:6, it says, without faith, without trusting, it's impossible to please God. But what I've learned in meeting with all these men, including a lot of Christian leaders all these years, is if their focus has been primarily on pleasing God, they've not developed very well in trusting. Okay? When I mean trusting, I mean trusting what God says about Himself, and then trusting what God says about them. Okay? So if I have a lust problem some night, and I meet in the morning, what's going to happen if I say, Lord, I know you're just giddy about me. You're giddy about me. I mean, you're nuts about me. And you knew all my stuff the eternity past. So I acknowledge it. But let's get after it. I'm not gonna grovel here. You know? I'm going to enjoy you. Let's enjoy you and Lord, help me to move away from this. Okay? Or whatever the issue is. Okay, so I guess I need to look at that sheet. I'm getting old. I can't remember all. Yeah. So what happens is when you, and many of you have already experienced this and are experiencing this. You've chosen, I really want to be a good guy. I want to please God, which is an honorable thing, right? But this book that I referred to tells about this. We end up in this room of good intentions. Okay? Where everybody in this room, could be this group, it could be your church, it could be some other Christian gathering. Everybody in that room has this intention of pleasing God to some extent. But guess what? They're all family. You're all family here. In the natural sense. Okay? So what do people do if they're in this room of good intentions with their default motivation of pleasing God? What are they doing now? They're wearing masks. So have you ever walked up to somebody and you kind of sense they were struggling and you ask, so how you doing? And they say, oh, I'm fine. That's mask wearing. Okay? And it really makes you feel great about fellowship. Well, in the room of good intentions, everybody's wearing masks to some extent. And actually, what's interesting is the guy who wrote that book, Bill Thrall, is a master of leader development. I mean, he's globally, he's a master leader developer. And one of the reasons he wrote the book was, in the room of good intentions, it's really difficult to develop quality leaders because they're still hiding. They're playing games with it. They don't deal well when you challenge them, or confront them, or hold them accountable on some things. Okay? So I think there's a couple of reactions that if you're in the room of good intentions, you may not have developed very well in really trusting God. But here's what happens. I think there's about 3 or 4 reactions to the room of good intentions. One guy, maybe not consciously, but he decides, okay, this is how the game is played here. I can do this. I can pretend. I can pose. And you men all know people like that. I mean, they're master posers. Okay? I hope we don't have none on here. But they're posing. They're pretending to be somebody else. They get really good at it. They think. Okay. Then the second reaction would be, there's something going on. This is goofy. This is something wrong here. I don't know what it is, but I'm just confused. So they stay in that environment the rest of their life confused. You think they're going to grow much spiritually if they're confused? Third reaction is, this is BS. I'm out of here. I'm never coming back. And you all know men like that? They've kind of called a spade, and they say, this is BS. I mean, they may be hypocrites themselves, but they don't want us to be hypocrites. Yeah. And they aren't coming back. And they may never come back. Then the last one is, there's got to be a better way here. So those guys kind of wander metaphorically down into where the intersection of the roads is. And they kind of stumble into this thing, and then they start to kind of go toward this room of this idea of trusting God. Maybe I need to work on trusting more versus just pleasing. And they're so sick of the phoniness, because when they were asked in the room of good intentions how they were doing, they found themselves saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. As a matter of fact, and even if they started to even say, well, maybe they were shut down. Because the people there didn't really want to hear that. Okay. But now, they so long for something real. You guys long for something real. Okay. I've got 6 men around me that can tell me anything about me. Well, I will tell them anything about me. I've walked with these guys for 30 years. We don't tell each other what we're doing. We say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? We let them speak into our lives. I let them speak into my life. Anyway, so, but if you're going to go into that room of grace, you've got to humble yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to answer fine anymore. I'm just going to answer the way it is. It takes humility to enter into the room of grace. But in the room of grace, when you finally get around to sharing, hey, I'm struggling with so-and-so. In the book it talks about some guy in the back of the room yells out, okay, we heard that, but is that the best you got? Hey, we're all struggling here. We're all struggling. We have no worthiness apart from Jesus. He's our worthiness. Okay? But the great news is, guys, He's given us something to do together. So let's be honest. Let's help each other in this deal. And let's go do what He has us do. So, where are you tonight? Huh? I mean, being here is certainly a good step toward the rim of grace. But you still got to make decisions. Are you going to be real? If you're about ready to do something disastrous with your life. Now, when I was at step 6, I was a leader of these men. And each of these men had a profound impact on our city. And I was a leader. Okay. But if I hadn't developed that kind of relationship with this man, and actually others along the way, I would have destroyed my life. It wasn't a moral thing, there's a struggle about a relationship. So who's gonna call you? And by the way, he called me 100 times. And I was getting ready to throw my phone away when I got to this place. But I hit a button or something, and there it was. But if he hadn't called me 100 times, I wouldn't have heard from him. And I wouldn't be here now. So do you know how to develop these kind of relationships with each other so that you're going to have that man? Okay. Or are you going to be the loner? You're going to kind of just do it on your own. It's a real comfort to my wife to know that I've got these 6 men around me who call my crowd. Okay. Who walk with me, and we've committed to finish this life well together. I've asked these 6 men to carry my cancer. Okay. But I've developed these relationships with these guys, truly open, accountable, inspiring. By the way, I won't keep showing up for accountability, guys. Maybe it's a fault of mine, unless it's inspiring. So you're only going to be able to ask me so often if I've failed. I'm just not going to keep coming back. But if we have a relationship that inspires me as well, I'll stay in the game, and I'll put up with those questions. Okay. So anyway, we've covered a couple things. So,
Fantastic. Well, guys, what we're going to do right now is, first of all, thank you, Dave. Amazing. Yeah, you got those cards. He's got some cards he's going to pass around as well. Dave's going to stick around. What we're going to do right now is, it's right at 8:03. What we're going to do for the next 20 minutes, let's go ahead and break out with your Mighty Men groups, with your leader. I know Barry is not here. Barry, his health issues, he did not want to expose himself here, which I totally understand. So I will sit with his group. I don't know who else from Barry's group. Bo, James, okay. We'll meet together. And but let's go ahead and spread out. We can meet in the back corners. You can meet everywhere except for Kevin's office here. So there's a conference room back here. So if you guys want to spread out, your leader has a group of questions. We're just going to kind of talk through some of the things that Dave talked about. And then we're going to come back together and we're going to kind of throw some of these ideas out, and then we'll close. So we'll be out of here by 8:30 for sure. So gentlemen, let's go ahead and spread out.